Today we're going to walk through an example of a successful final analysis, look at how it works well in terms of both the structure and the level of detail of the analysis, and also probably a place where it could be strengthened. So again, this is a very, very good example that I'm giving you. It starts off with our thesis claim, right, supporting the theme of the life cycle. And that's that this has been passed down through human history, expressed in various ways from different cultures. Broad, but it works. Then the paper moves on to a brief description of Dia de los Muertos. And here it's giving this context of a historical artifact, we could call it, this tradition, which still lives today, because the writer is now going to introduce the contemporary artifact. And since it's related to Dia de los Muertos, they needed to give that little bit of context. I think it's a great idea to start with a brief description of what the artifact looks like. We'll see at the end, this one also contains the actual visuals, which is super helpful for me. I don't mind a link to going and look at it. Either works. The writer doesn't spend a whole lot of time, though, talking about what this piece looks like, but moves very quickly into talking about what it represents, right? So it represents the closeness of life and death. We get, I'm just pointing out some keywords that we're getting here, right? As they continue to close read the details of this piece, then we get the word symbolism, which is always, for me, it's like, yep, we're getting there. And then telling me how those twisted branches symbolize the many past lives that make our lives possible. So in here, we don't know this yet, but in here, there are some lovely details that are later going to tie back into the historical artifacts that are going to be brought up. So we have this lovely transition, right? Many other cultures have incorporated the importance of the life cycle as well. For example, the Egyptians would similarly give gifts to the dead. So starting to look at the artifact of the pyramid of Djoser and giving some examples of it and how it relates to the tree of life. Pardon me, and talking about its relationship to beliefs within the Mexican culture. Each of these paragraphs does a great job of having this lovely summary sentence here, which you don't have to have, but like, why not? Where you point out to the reader, hello, this is the overall thematic connection I'm trying to make. And that's nice because then it makes for a quick transition into the discussion of Buddhist culture and the artifact large-seated Buddha with standing Bodhisattva. And I appreciate that the writer is bringing up the Eightfold Path, which is a great example. Again, I'm seeing words like similarly, so I know here comes the comparison, and then we have a nice contrast where the writer says the tree of life and death may not show direct reincarnation, but it expresses the continuity of life after death. So that's lovely. It's got contrast with a continued connection, and then again, another reminder of the thematic connection at the end of the paragraph. So to say this, I am going through this very, very quickly. I will post this example along with the video so you can go back and look at it in more detail. You may notice this person's not spending a ton of time talking about the Buddhist artifact, and I think maybe could look a little bit more closely at some small detail, physical connection of the actual piece of that's discussed here before they move on to more general Buddhist beliefs. But this is again really, really good. That's just one small detail that I would say. Then we have a move into discussion about Jesus and the idea of dying and being reborn as part of his teaching, and how that's connected to the tree of life and death. Works really, really well. I would say that a quote from the Bible would be great here as a concrete example. I don't know that they would need to do another visual artifact because you want to have a bunch of different kinds of artifacts. So in terms of genre, so the teachings referenced, I'm taking that as close enough, but actually adding in the text would really help lift this piece so that we have a more clear connection to the different genre of literature. Then we have another transition to the conclusion, which does a really great job of showing how the contemporary artifact both reflects what's come up, but also the additional values of our current culture and concerns about the environment. So I think that's kind of perfectly what I'm looking for this particular project, that you find something that we have today in our world, you tie it back to several different cultures that we've looked at, looking at the similarities, looking at the differences across different genres, different types of artifacts, and then pointing out what's evolved in this thinking, right? In this case, environmentalism, which for obvious reasons wasn't as big a concern back in Egypt if you were an Egyptian living near the pyramids. And then at the end, there are the physical representations, which as well as a link to the images, which is a nice touch. I actually, when there is an image, I always start there because I want to know more about the artifact before I start. But this paper does a really good job of giving me all the context that I need in order to understand how this particular artist's rendering is both connected to that theme across history and a contemporary update. So I hope you found this walkthrough helpful. And again, the marked up paper will be available for you with the video. So feel free to check it out and let me know if you have any questions.